if you are a researcher or a clinician and you're interested in a particular gene and you'd like to see all of the associated diseases, you can perform the search. This is a BRAF search. And again, you'll notice that it takes me directly to this detail page. I'll highlight here that the variant landscape showcases a number of hotspots, which is indicative of a gain of function mechanism for BRAF. And then if I click on related diseases, it will now take me back to that disease page, just as I had done for the variant, only this time it's for the gene itself. And so you'll see a handful of diseases like thyroid neoplasms or colorectal carcinoma, hairy cell leukemia is on this list, etc. Similar to that search, a use case that most of our researchers avail when they're using professional edition of Mastermind is I'm a researcher or a clinician and I'm interested in a disease and I want to know all the associated genes to that disease. So if I now type in a particular disease, I'll just go generic here and say myeloid leukemia. If I perform that search, it takes me to this overview page. And now on the left, you'll see the disease is consistent across these results. And on the right are every gene in accordance with the number of articles that mention that gene disease association, no matter how an author describes those terms. So if you're familiar with this disease, you'll recognize some usual suspects like KIT and FLT3, the BCR-ABL gene set is reflected there, as well as a handful of other terms. I'll draw your attention to CD34 here to say that CD34 is a marker of cells that are useful for transplant in treating this disease. Mastermind here is returning the results for CD34 as we're not sure yet whether you're interested in genes that are associated with a disease by virtue of mutation or say by biomarker or by treatment. And so the results that you see here are agnostic to any specific search criteria if you have not inserted those into your initial search. And I'll show you how to do that here in a use case later on. So the next use case that I'll show is similar to that use case, only instead of searching by disease, you're interested in, say, searching by phenotypes. So this use case is I'm a researcher or clinician interested in a phenotype or a set of phenotypes, and I want to know all of the genes that have been associated with that phenotype. So I'll go back to my search box, and I'll begin typing in a specific phenotype. And you'll notice here that I've got a phenotypic result here for Ectopia lentis. And I'll type in, say, a second phenotype. This is aortic aneurysm, and I'll perform that search. And this is now combing the full text of all of the articles in Mastermind, looking for the mention of those particular terms, as well as their synonyms from the HPO ontology. And this is the result that's returned. For those of you who are familiar with this disease, it won't be surprising that fibrillin-1, elastin, and some members of the TGF-beta family are returned in these results. This is phenotypes characteristic of Marfan syndrome. This is the most useful use case when you're not sure what disease you're dealing with in your patient, but you do have a constellation of individual phenotypes. So this capability is available in Professional Edition for clinical users, and you can include as many phenotypes as you'd like using the AND parameter to enhance the specificity of your search, or toggling that to OR to enhance the sensitivity of your search. I'll go back to the home page here. Another search use case would be I'm a researcher or a clinician interested in a particular disease and want to know all of the variants in that disease associated with a particular gene. So I'm going to begin by typing in a particular disease. This is hereditary hemorrhagic telangiectasia, which is caused, among other genes, by mutations in this ACVRL1 gene. So now I've got two search terms in my initial search, both a gene and a disease, and I'll perform that search. And now you'll see the variant landscape on the left and the article landscape on the right for this particular search, which includes a more specific search on a disease to showcase all the variants in that gene that have been associated with that disease. If you want to enhance the sensitivity of your search for this result set, I would recommend eliminating the disease search, particularly in the case where the disease is monogenic in nature, or the gene mutations are known to only cause one particular disease. The result set that you retrieve when you eliminate the need to search by disease will enhance the sensitivity of your search, as you see when I clicked off the disease filter. A different example in the same vein would be a particular gene that has several different diseases that it's associated with. So in this particular case, the RET gene is associated, among other diseases, with both Hirschsprung's and medullary thyroid cancer. If you're not interested in the variants that are associated with Hirschsprung's and you want to be more specific and look at only those articles that talk about medullary thyroid cancer, this is a search to do that for the RET gene so that you can enhance the specificity of your search and be assured that these variants are much more highly likely to be associated with medullary thyroid carcinoma. An additional search that is frequently invoked using Mastermind and newly enhanced with Mastermind version 2.0 is I'm a researcher or clinician interested in a variant from a cancer patient and would like to identify papers that mention a specific drug that's used to treat that patient. So I'll begin by typing in the gene of interest and its associated variant, and then I'll begin typing in a particular drug. So vemurafenib is an anti-BRAF medication, and you'll notice here that it doesn't fit into any one of our gene or phenotype or disease or variant dropdowns. Instead, it's labeled as a text search. So if I engage vemurafenib from my search, now I'll be focusing the specificity of my variant search and enhancing the prioritization on those articles that mention vemurafenib as a treatment strategy. So if I perform that search, you'll now note that I'm seeing all of the several thousand articles that talk about this variant and this drug, but prioritized so that those articles that mention the variant in the context of the drug very close together will appear in my prioritized list. And you can go through and add additional text-based, free text-based search terms, as well as modifying the specificity of your search further by adding in any one of these canned key terms from the category data set that we have available in Mastermind Professional Edition.